Apollo scrapers are dead. Exporting data directly from Apollo is way too expensive because you don't get enough credits for the amount you're paying every single month. And on top of that, the data is not even that accurate, which means that every time you export a lead list, you need to use a third-party verification tool to verify all the data you exported, which is just adding on to your costs. So the new way and the best way to build verified lead lists for your cold outbound campaigns in 2026 is using AI Ark. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know about AI Ark, all the different features that the platform offers, and then I'm also going to build a couple of lead lists from scratch so you can see all the different filters that you can use when you're building your campaigns. Now, for some context, my name is Alex. I run a B2B lead generation agency called SparkLead, and we've helped our clients generate over 1.2 million in revenue just from cold email. And at the point of recording this video, we pretty much use AI Ark for every single lead list that we build. So in this video, I'm basically going to show you the exact process that we use at my agency. Now, the first thing you need to do if you want to start using AI Ark is you need to create an account. So just go to Google, type in ai-ark.com, and it's going to bring you to this website right here. This is the home page. And if you look at the navigation bar on the top, if I hover over platform, these are some of the features that they offer. So the first one is the AI similarity search. So this is basically a lookalike search. If you've used Apollo before, then you know that they also have a lookalike search. But after testing that multiple times, now we don't actually use the lookalike search in Apollo. We found that it's not very accurate, and sometimes the companies that it returns are not really lookalike companies. But after testing the lookalike search in AI Ark, we've actually found that the degree of accuracy is much higher. And so we actually use the lookalike search within AI Ark. Now, they also have the AI semantic search based on keywords. Then they also have the AI company search and the AI people search, where you can find companies and people and decision makers at those companies to target. One more thing I want to go through before I walk you through all the different plans and pricing options is essentially why I feel AI Ark is better than Apollo, Prospeo, and any other alternative. So first of all, they offer 500 million plus people data. So they have over 500 million contacts on the database, whereas, if I'm not mistaken, Apollo has only 200 or 250 million contacts. So that's almost double the number of contacts that Apollo offers. And you can actually split test this, and we've done this multiple times where we use the exact same filters on both databases. And 99 times out of 100, we found that AI Ark basically offers more contacts for a given search. So that's a really big benefit. And the other thing is the 30-day refresh cycle. So what this means is that they refresh their data every 30 days, whereas databases like Apollo and Prospeo refresh their data every 60 days or even every 90 days. Now, what this means is that if a prospect changes job, the AI Arc database is going to reflect that job change within 30 days, whereas Prospeo, Apollo, or any other database might take 60 days or even 90 days. Now, the reason why this is so important for your cold email campaigns is because it minimizes the chances of you calling out the wrong company name in your outreach, which is essentially the difference of you getting a response and you not getting a response. And one more thing worth mentioning that I think explains why AI Arc offers certain filters and features that are very specific and useful for your cold email campaigns that no other database offers, at least at the point of recording this video, is that it was built by two guys that actually run an outbound agency. So it was built by a team that runs outbound campaigns at scale. And so they've used databases like Apollo, Prospeo, or any other database out there. They've seen all the limitations and restrictions with those databases. And you can just see that they've built a bunch of features and filters that solve some of those restrictions and limitations. Let's just go into pricing then. I'll show you how you can actually sign up for the platform. So first of all, you can choose whether you want a monthly or an annual package. If you don't know how much you're going to be using AI Arc, whether you're going to be using it in 6 months, 8 months, let alone 12 months, I would suggest just going for one of the monthly packages. And the monthly packages are slightly more expensive than the annual plan. You can save 20% if you go annual. But once again, I would only go for the annual plan if you know that you're going to be using it long term. But if not, then you can just go for the monthly plan. And then you can obviously start with the free plan if you just want to explore through the platform, see all the different features that they offer. It's going to give you 100 credits a month. And then you can also go for the $49 a month, which is going to give you 5,000 credits. It can give you 15,000, 30,000, 60,000. If I'm not mistaken, Apollo will also charge you around $50, $60 a month, but you'll only get 2,500 export credits. Whereas you can see that with AI Arc for $49, you can get 5,000 credits, which is basically double. And I think it's also $10 less per month. And then you can also go to 15,000. And you can go after 60, 120, 210. And then obviously, if you need more than 5 million credits a month, then you can just go for the agency or the enterprise plan. So choose the plan that you want. I'm just going to log into my AI Ark account. I'm going to start showing you all the cool features that you can use. All right, so once you log into your AI Ark account, this is the first thing that you're going to see. This is the home page. As you can see, some of these features haven't actually come out yet. So the people lookalike search, the AI semantic company search, and the buying committee search. But the company lookalike search is available. And then also the advanced people search and the company search as well. These two at the bottom, which I would say these are the main three searches that you're going to be using the most. Before we actually go into each of those, I'm just going to show you what all these different icons are on the left as well. So you have the home icon at the top. Then you have the company search, which is the same thing as just clicking on the company search right here. You have the people search, which is the same thing as the advanced people search box here. Then you have your saved lists. So if you actually build a lead list, you can actually save it and see all your saved lists here. Then you have the lists that you've built, you have the labels that you've built, and then you also have your exports here. But I'll come back to how you can save a lead list, how you can add labels, and how you can export after we actually build the lead list. It's going to make a lot more sense. All right, so let's start off with the company lookalike search. So once again, this is going to allow you to discover similar companies to a given domain that you give AI Ark, and this could either be to find new clients or competitors. So you just need to click on try now. As you can see, there's a bunch of different companies here. We'll just choose Nike for now. And then if I'm not mistaken, you can put up to 5 lookalike companies, but we'll start off with just one. Then if we just click on find similarity, you'll see here that it's now searching for lookalike companies, and it found 30,000 lookalike companies. All right, so now there's no prospects here. We're still in the company search. This is a company lookalike search. If I just scroll down a bit, it also gives you like a rating out of 100 as to how much of a lookalike company this is. And you can see that we have Under Armour, which is basically a lookalike company, Converse, Reebok, New Balance, Asics, Foot Locker, Adidas is here as well. And you can see that Skechers. And the more you go down, you can see that the percentage of like how much of a lookalike company this is decreasing. But then what you can do is you can also play around with the filters here, and you can also filter that down even more. So let's say you were looking for lookalike companies that were based in a given location. So you want lookalike companies that are also based in North America, or more specifically, let's say the United States. You can see that now the total records have gone down from 30,000 companies to 10,000 companies. So essentially, the good thing about this is that, yes, you can find lookalike companies, but you don't need to just rely on the lookalike companies that the database gives you. And you can actually play around with some of the filters to filter it down even more. So if you're looking for lookalike companies that are based in the US, or that are based in a specific location, or lookalike companies that are of a given headcount, then you can also do that as well. So maybe a company that sells similar products to Nike, but maybe isn't of that size. Maybe they have only 500 employees, 100 employees. You can also play around with that. So this is good because obviously there's 30,000 lookalike companies, and you can just choose the specific lookalike companies that you're looking for. And then you can also add more lookalike companies. So you can actually press on this plus sign, and this is going to allow you to add more lookalike companies to your search, and you can add up to 5. So as you can see here, we now have 2 out of 5. You could also add Reebok here. I'm just going to keep this at 3 right now. And then you can see it once again. Now we have 10,500 records. But if you wanted to find people at these companies, you just need to click on find people. And if you click on find people, it's now going to find the people that work at these companies. And now it's just loading the people search. All right, so as you can see, we have 57,200 records. What this means is that we have 57,000 people that work at the lookalike companies to the 3 lookalike companies we selected. So if we selected Nike, for example, as a lookalike company, and Adidas and Under Armour, we then find people at all those lookalike companies. We had 10,000 companies, and now there's 57,000 people. All right. Now, depending on the kind of services that you offer, and depending on what you're pitching to these lookalike companies, you now need to decide what people you're actually looking for. So as you can see here, the job titles here are completely random and broad. So we have lead IT recruiters, we have lead data scientists. So depending on what you're selling to these companies, you can now start playing around with the filters to find the right people at those companies. I'm not going to do this right now. I'm going to do this when we start playing around with the company search and the people search. All right. I just wanted to show you what the company lookalike search is. So anytime you want to build a company lookalike search, just come to the homepage, click on try now, choose the company that you want to build a lookalike list to. So let's say you wanted to do Accenture, you press on find similarity, and it's basically going to give you all the lookalike companies. Once again, we have 30,000 lookalike companies, and then you can just start playing around with all the filters here to filter down this lookalike search as much as you want to, right? But let's say you don't want to build a company lookalike search. Let's say you want to build a people search, which is the one that we use the most. All right. And first of all, you have the company search and the people search right here. So you don't need to keep going back to the home page. And we can just remove Accenture right here. So we have the company search and the people search. And let's say that we were building a lead list of retail brands. All right. So just for the sake of this example, we'll build a lead list of retail brands. And let's just consider that we're selling these retail brands marketing services. All right. So I'm going to walk you through all the different filters that we can use to build a targeted lead list of retail brands if we're selling marketing services, specifically email marketing services. All right. So the first thing you can do is you can include and exclude certain lists. So if you've built any lists in AI Ark in the past, all right, you can just click on this. And if you just click on this drop-down box, it's going to allow you to include or exclude certain lists. So let's say, for example, I built a lead list of retail brands 2 months ago in AI Ark, and I saved that specific export as a list. And now I want to build a new list of retail brands, but I don't want to target those same brands. I don't want to target those same companies and prospects. I can basically exclude that specific list. And what this means is that right off the bat, it's going to exclude all those companies. So this is a really good way to avoid targeting the same companies and exporting the same companies again and again, right? But for this example, I'm not going to do that. Then we also have the people info, right? So here you can just type in the full name of the prospect, or if you were looking for a specific LinkedIn contact, and you can go to that person's LinkedIn page, you can copy their URL, you can paste it here, and it's going to give you the actual profile of that person. So let's say I was searching for myself here. I should probably be on the database. You can see that no one else has my name, Alexander Zartarian, founder and CEO of Sparklead. And you can see here that if I click on this, if I click on quick view, it's going to give you a bunch of details about me as well. So this is basically what you can do if you type in the full name and then also the LinkedIn contact URL as well. But for this search, once again, we're not going to do that. In terms of the people search, then what you can do is you can bulk include or exclude social links. So if you have the LinkedIn profiles of multiple people, then you want to make sure that you're only targeting those specific LinkedIn profiles, and you can include those profiles here. Now, once again, we're not going to use that filter for this lead list, but I'm just running you through all the things that you can do. Now, the next filter is the current and past company. Now, here's a really cool feature that AI Ark offers where you can actually choose whether you want the specific company to be the current company that the prospect is working at, or if it's a past company that a prospect is working at. Because oftentimes you'll see that on people's LinkedIn profiles, they have a bunch of different companies. Sometimes they're working at those companies now, and it's basically the date is present, or sometimes they're working at those companies in the past. So if you have a specific company that you want to target, and you want to target maybe employees that used to work at that company, then you can do that here. And then you can also target people that work at that company right now. So once again, depending on the kind of lead list that you're building, AI Ark gives you the ability to choose whether the person is at that company now or whether that person used to be at that company. And depending on your offer, this is really useful. Right. So the next filter is the job roles. And if you've used Apollo before, then this is pretty similar. So if I just open this up, once again, you can see if this is their previous job or this is their current job. All right. So if we're reaching out to certain prospects, we want to make sure that this is their current job and this is their primary active role only. So you'll see that a lot of times people have multiple active roles. All right. They might be executive directors or non-executive directors or members of certain committees on their LinkedIn profile. And they might have that as, for example, their second active role on LinkedIn. So what you want to do here is tick this as the primary active role to make sure that we're only reaching out to people based on their primary active role and what they're currently doing, aside from being an advisor somewhere or a board member. So once again, if we go back to the example, if we're selling marketing services, then the way that you want to think about job titles is you want to go after the department at those retail brands that would be relevant decision makers for marketing services. All right. So we want to go after the founder and CEO. If you just actually type in founder here, it's going to give you all the different variants for this. We have founder and CEO, the founder, the co-founder, CEO and founder, co-founder. We're just going to tick all of these right here. Now you can see that we're going after basically the founder. Then we want to go after the CMO, so the chief marketing officer. We could also go after a fractional CMO as well. You could go after co-founder and CMO, chief marketing officer. We basically covered the founder roles previously. And then we also want to go after the marketing department at the VP level, the director level, and also the head level. So if we just type in VP of marketing, we'll target the VP of marketing. We also want the head of marketing. We could also do marketing communications. We could target all of these here: head of the marketing department, head of marketing and sales, head of marketing operations. And then we could also do the director of marketing. And then once again, we could tick a bunch of these here: director of marketing and sales, marketing operations, marketing and development. So you can be a bit selective here. You can choose whichever ones make most sense. Then we also want to type in growth, because if we're selling email marketing services to retail brands, then anyone who has the word growth in their job title is typically focused on growing the companies. And since we can help them grow through email marketing, it makes sense to go after head of growth, chief growth officer, growth manager, growth marketing, growth specialist, growth marketeer, director of growth. And we'll just keep it there right now. So the way I want you to think about job titles is always just think about the service that you offer. If you're offering marketing services, you want to go after the marketing department. If you're offering, for example, AI automation services, maybe it makes sense to go after the tech department, the operations department. If you're offering anything to do with their accounting, their bookkeeping, then maybe you could go after the CFO, the head of finance, VP of finance, director of finance. But that's the best way that I think about job titles. You can go after the C-level executive of the department, so the CMO in this case. You could go after the VP, the director, and the head. Right. And then depending on the size of the companies you're reaching out to, then you could also go after the founder. You could go after the CEO. Right. You could go after the president as well. But typically speaking, the larger the company that you're reaching out to, the further down the hierarchy you need to go. Because if you're selling email marketing services to a company like Nike, or to a company that has over 10,000 employees, then it's very, very likely that the president, the CEO, or the founder of the company is not actually directly involved in the email marketing part of the business. Whereas if you're targeting a company that has 10 employees, 50 employees, then maybe the president, the founder could be a better contact in this case. So for our lead list, because we're going to target companies between the 10 and 100 range, then we could go after the founder and CEO. Although maybe even at the 80 to 100 range, the founder, once again, is still not involved in anything to do with the marketing of the company, and they're just involved in more high-level decision making. Then you could also exclude job titles as well. We're not going to exclude any job titles in this case. And then you could also, if you didn't want to filter based on job titles, the next option is you could go based on organizational roles, which means that you could just choose the seniority to be founder, owner, partner, C-suite, VP, director, and head. I wouldn't do the manager. And then you could also choose the department and job function. So you could do, for example, in our case, you could go into marketing and you could just select the ones that are most relevant. So if you were to select the director in terms of seniority, and then if you were to select advertising in terms of the department, then you would basically get like the director of advertising, right? But because we did it specifically using job titles, we don't need to use the organizational roles. So now, if I close up the job roles, you'll be able to see, if you look at the title column in this sample, that all of the job titles here are basically relevant. So we have co-founders, founders, head of marketing. We basically excluded anyone who is not a good fit and who is not a decision maker for the services we offer. And you can see that just based on the job titles, we filtered this down to 7.2 million, right? But now what we need to do is we need to start figuring out what company filters we're going to use, all right? Because now we've set the people filters in terms of who these people are, and now we need to filter on a company level. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go after the employee size. So how big are these companies? As I mentioned previously, we'll do 11 to 20, we'll do 21 to 50, and we'll just keep it there for now because we're also going after the founders. Probably more than 50 employees would be a bit of a stretch when targeting a founder, CEO, president. They probably wouldn't be decision makers over 50 employees. All right, so the next filter we can use is the location. And you can see that you can filter your location on two levels. You can either do it at a company headquarter level or at a people level. So if for a specific reason you want the people to be located in a specific country, but you don't care where the actual headquarters of the company is, then you can just do it based on people. For the sake of this example, we'll do it based on company headquarters. And I really like the way that AI Ark organizes the locations. I think it's a lot better than Apollo, where you have here all the different continents: Northern America, Western Europe, Northern Europe, or if you just type in Europe, for example, it'll give you Western, Northern, Southern, and Eastern Europe. But for the case This example, we'll just do the United States. We'll do English speaking countries. We'll do Canada. We can do Australia. And it doesn't need to be countries. You could even do specific cities if you wanted to. So let's say I want to go after London in the United Kingdom, then I can just choose London as opposed to the entire United Kingdom. And then if I wanted to, I could also do the European Union. All right. So if I wanted to select based on an economic zone, I could do the European Union. All right. So we'll do these locations for now. And these are going to be where the company headquarters are. And you can see that now we filtered this down to 412,000 records. All right. So the next filter is keywords. All right. And we have people keywords and also company keywords. All right. So the people keywords are basically keywords that they have on their LinkedIn profile. Here's also another really cool filter that AI Ark offers. So you could do it based on keywords they have in their headline, in their summary, work history, education, even a certain course that they've done, certain certifications that they have. But in our case, we'll just do the keywords on a company level. All right. So let's say we're going after retail brands, and specifically we're going after fashion and apparel brands. All right. So we'll do fashion, we can do apparel. And then I also like to think about this just by typing in certain products that those brands might be selling. So we can do fashion, apparel, t-shirts, shorts, we can do socks, jeans. The best way to do this is just to go into ChatGPT or any other LLM that you're using and just basically see that I'm targeting retail, apparel, and fashion brands. Can you give me 20 keywords that would only apply to fashion and apparel retail brands? Nothing that would basically attract any sort of manufacturer or supplier, but at the same time, no keywords that would attract any other retail brand. Because if I were to put, for example, add to cart as a keyword, then obviously there's a lot of retail brands that use this keyword. Basically, every single brand, regardless of the industry, would probably have the add to cart keyword on their website. All right. So we're going to do fashion, apparel. We'll do t-shirts, shorts, socks, jeans. We'll do suits, and we can also do shoes as well. All right. So as you can see, based on these keywords now, we have 11,000 records. All right. We have 11,000 records here, and you can also exclude certain keywords if you wanted to. So just to make sure we're not going after any suppliers, we could do supplier, we could exclude manufacturer, we could do the distributor as well. And then as you can see, now we're just making sure that we're only going after retail brands. All right. So I'm not going to type in retail here, because if I do retail, then once again, you can see we now have 30,000 keywords, because now we're saying that even if it has the word retail in, we want to target that, which is too broad, because we want to do fashion and apparel. All right. So I'm going to just keep it like this. And a really cool thing that AI Arc offers is that you can also filter based on products or services. All right. So there's actually a separate filter for this as well, where aside from the keywords, even though if you use keywords, then as you can see, it already includes the products and services on a company level. But let's say you didn't want to include the keywords here, then you could always just scroll down into products and services, and you can actually list out the kind of services or products that the company offers. So let's say you were going after marketing companies, then you could actually choose the services that are listed on their website, which is another really cool feature that AI Arc offers. Then you could go after prospects that have certain skills on their LinkedIn profile. And this is, I think, where once again, AI Arc will give you a bit of an edge over using other databases, where you can literally filter based on any piece of information that a prospect might have on their LinkedIn profile. If you want to get super niche with the prospects you're targeting, if you know that you can only go after people that have certain skills, then once again, you can see anyone that has the skill Microsoft Excel, then you can go after those people. And then every single person in this list has this skill on their LinkedIn profile. We're not going to do that for this specific lead list. But then once again, even in terms of education, you could filter based on certain academics. So what university the prospects went to, what degree these people have, any majors that they have, language skills. So let's say we wanted to go after people that speak English, then once again, we could tick this. The only caveat to using these filters here, like skills, education, and language skills, is that a lot of people might be on LinkedIn. They might know English, but because they're not that active on LinkedIn, they're not that aware of all the different features that LinkedIn offers, they might just not put that skill on their profile. So you don't want to exclude those people. Typically speaking, if we're going after people and companies that are based in the US, then that's usually a good indication that they probably have a sufficient level of English speaking skills. So Then you can also do certain certifications. So once again, for more niche campaigns that you want to build, you could filter based on certifications. So it could be some sort of a Google certification or any kind of marketing certification, anything that would make these prospects a good fit. Once again, we're not going to use that for this lead list. Then we also have the profile badge. So this is a filter that I always use in my lead lists, where you can filter based on certain badges that they have on their LinkedIn profile. So LinkedIn will give you the option to have a creator badge, hiring, influencer, open to work. Now, in our case, what we want to do is we want to exclude people that have the open to work badge, because if someone has the open to work badge, it means that they might be in between job roles. And so we don't want to target those people. We don't want someone who's open to work and open to being hired by another company as we're launching campaigns targeting that person. Then you can also filter based on job changes. We're going to leave that as well. We'll leave that empty. And then you can also go down and filter based on industry. So let's say we wanted to do retail, then we could select retail here. It's going to give us 5.6K. So you see it further filtered our search even more. And then if we also type in fashion, we can also do that, and retail, apparel, and fashion. You can see that the search now has gone up to 6.3. We can also do apparel. All right. So you can see that now we have 6.4 thousand records. Okay. We have 6,400 records. Then you can also do based on SIC and NAICS. But we're not going to do that once again here. We don't have any of these codes. And then products or services, we already included this in the keywords, and the keywords already take this into account. But if you weren't going to use the keyword filter, then you can just come down into products and services. All right, so the next filter we can use is technologies. So let's say we wanted to go after companies that precisely use Shopify, and we could just click Shopify here. Now you can see that the search has gone down to 3,000 records. Right, so this is even more precise now. And then if we wanted to do Klaviyo as well, so Shopify or Klaviyo, you can see that now we have 3.1. So there's like an extra 100 prospects that are from Klaviyo that are not using Shopify. And then we also have headcount growth. So this is also really cool, and Apollo doesn't actually offer this filter, where you can also filter by the growth of a certain department. All right, so you can choose, for example, the marketing department within a certain company, and then you can choose the percentage employee growth that that department has gone through within the past however many months. So let's say we want to go after companies that their marketing department has, increased and has become bigger by 10% over the past 24 months, then you can go after those companies because it indicates that they're maybe in the growth stage, they're ready to grow. So that's also really good. And then you can also do employee by departments. So let's say you were going after bigger companies and you require them to already have some sort of a marketing team, then you could click on marketing and you could choose the minimum number of employees that they have within that department. So you can see at the headcount level that we chose, almost all companies have at least one person in the marketing department. If we did two, this is going to shrink the lead list even more. It's now 1.8K. Then if we put three, it's going to shrink it even more. We have 1.1. So this is also really good because depending on the service that you sell, if you require the companies to have a certain size department before you reach out to them as a qualification criteria, then that's really good as well. And once again, it's another one of those specific filters that only AI Ark offers that is going to allow you to take your outreach to the next level, in my opinion. Then you also have the annual revenue. You have funding as well. Last funding round, you can choose the funding type as well. Operation language, the number of locations that they have in the world. So if you, for whatever reason, want these companies to have 5 locations at least all over the world, then you can do that. The year that they were founded. You can also do based on social media presence, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and Instagram. But in our case, we're not going to add any more filters to this specific lead list. And then if I go into the charts here on the top right corner, you'll be able to see that it's going to give us a really cool view of the lead list that we've built. So the majority of prospects are coming from the United States, also from Australia. We have the United Kingdom, Canada, the main countries that we actually want to be targeting. Then if you go into headcount, you can see that the majority of prospects, actually it's an even split between 11 to 20 and 21 to 50, 1.5 and 1.7K. Continents, once again, you can see here, most of them are in North America. And then you can also see the top departments, all right? So we have entrepreneurship, and then it goes straight into marketing and business development as well. And then you can also see the seniority of the job titles, and also their social media presence as well, and top industries, all right? So you can see here we have retail, apparel and fashion. You can see that we also have a couple of manufacturing, textile manufacturing companies. So we could filter this lead list even more to make it more accurate. But I would say that there is a pretty high degree of accuracy already, right? So if we were to just open up at random 2 or 3 of these companies, we can see if we did a good job building this lead list. So if we open up Look Optic, I'm just going to open these completely at random. If we open up their website as well, let's see what these companies do. So this is, for example, a retail shop. So you can see here that they sell glasses, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So if we shop men here, they sell glasses. So this is basically a retail brand as well that are to some degree in the fashion industry. They sell glasses. Then we could do this company right here. Let's see what they do as well. So if we open this up, you can see that this is also a fashion brand. This is exactly what we wanted as well. So you can see that to an extent, to a pretty high degree, I would say, this is exactly the kind of list that we're looking for. And you can see that we're targeting the right people at these companies. We have founders, VP of marketing, people who would be relevant decision makers when you're selling email marketing services. And then you also have people that are in the location that you want to with all the keywords that you want. So I would say this is once again where AI Ark is going to give you a bit of an edge, where they have just those extra 3, 4, 5 filters that no other database is going to give you the option to use. And I would say that's what makes it superior. And on top of that, they just have more data. They have more contacts in the entire platform. So, for example, if you're building the same lead list in Apollo, you're trying to find the right prospects out of 250 million compared to 526 million. So you have almost double the number of prospects here. That just increases the chances that you're going to find more people that you want to reach out to. And then let's say you wanted to filter on a company level as well, then you could come on the company level. And then once again, let's say you wanted to choose companies that are based in a certain location, employee size. It's pretty much the same filters here, just on a company level. I would just recommend building your lead list on a people level. And then you can see that you also have the option to set your company filters here as well. Okay, whether it's the headcount growth, the employee by department. All right. So let's say now that we've built our lead list, we have 3,000 records. Let's say we want to export this lead list. All right. So what we can do is we can click on this box right here, and then you can choose. You can either select all results. Okay. You can also choose the number of records that you want to export, and you can also choose the max number of people per company. All right. So let's say we want to export 100 records. All right. I'm going to set this to 100 because it's going to export really, really quickly, just for the sake of this video as well. And the max people per company, we're going to keep this at 1. All right. So now that we've selected these 100 records, we now have 4 or 5 different options here. These are things that we can do with all these records. First of all, you can save them. The next thing you can do is you can export them as a CSV file. Then you can also save the search, right? So let's say you wanted to save this search just for future reference. You can just save this here. All right. And then you can access it in your saved searches. I'm not going to save this specific one. And then you can actually export. All right. So if I go into export CSV files, you can see that the first thing you can do is you can choose the name. So I would always recommend using a name convention that is going to help you recognize what specific lead list this is. Once you build dozens of lead lists, you want to keep this clear. So let's say right now we did retail, we did US, we did 11 to 50. All right. And then specifically, we also did fashion. All right. So we did retail, fashion, US, 11 to 50 employees. All right. And then the next thing you can do is you can add it to a list. So this is what I mentioned previously, right? If I just actually exit this view, right at the top here, you had the option to include or exclude lists. All right. So if I were to build this and save it as a list, these 100 records, then the next time I build a list of retail brands, I can actually exclude this list. So what this means is that you're going to be able to exclude these companies and these people to make sure that you're not retargeting them again. All right. And you're not exporting and you're not looking at the same leads. Okay. So once again, you can name this however you want. I'm just going to call this fashion. And then you can also create this, save it as a list. Same goes with the label. You can also create or save this as a label as well. And then the next step is to go down into the people data enrichment. All right. So going back to what I said at the beginning of this video, if you were to build this lead list in Apollo, you would have to then use a third-party verification tool to verify all the email addresses. Whereas in this case, all of the email addresses are already going to be verified. All right. So if you just click on email enrichment, all right, this means that it's going to verify all the email addresses that you export. All right. So this is going to retrieve and verify a valid email address for the selected contact. It's going to charge you 0.5 credits for each successful email enrichment. All right. Whether it's newly added or whether it's an existing contact being updated, but you're not going to get charged if they can't find a valid email address. All right. So what the email re-verify is, though, is that let's say you're exporting contacts and some of those contacts you've already exported in the past. If you click on email re-verify, it's going to re-verify those contact details. All right. So let's say you built a lead list 2 months ago of these retail brands, and some of the contacts are exactly the same, but over these past 2 months, maybe some of those contacts changed their email address. Maybe they left those companies and their email addresses are not valid anymore. If you click on email re-verify, what it's going to do is not only is it going to verify the new emails that you're exporting, but it's also going to re-verify any existing emails that you've already verified in the past, just to make sure that at the time you're exporting the current lead list, all of your emails are verified. All right. And this is powered by Bounceban, which is once again a very reliable verification tool. And this is why when you're using AI Ark, you don't need to actually use a third-party tool like Million Verify, right? So the next thing you can do is you can select Profile Insight, and this is if you want even more insight on their profiles. And then if you want a mobile number, it's also going to charge you additional credits here, all right? So it's going to charge you an extra 5 credits for every successful mobile enrichment. So if you want to get the mobile numbers of these prospects, then you can actually choose this. It's going to charge you an extra 5 credits, all right? And then basic contact storage, this is going to charge you 0.5 credits, and this is just for actually saving new contacts, all right? So for every single prospect that you export from AI Ark, it's going to charge you 0.5 credits. And then for every successful email address that it finds, it's just going to charge you an extra 0.5 credits, all right? But for every email address that already exists, or every record that already exists, you're not going to be charged again. And then finally, the last part before you export, there's also another really cool feature that AI Ark offers, is that you can also customize your export template. And this is really useful when you're building massive lead lists, when you're building a high volume of lead lists. It's really useful to be able to customize that. So if you go into the export template, obviously there is a default export template, but you can also create your own one. So you can see here, these are all the columns that are going to be found in your CSV file. You have people columns, company columns, experience, education, awards, courses, and you can see that in the default template, we have 85 out of 256 columns, all right? And you have the ability to choose up to 256 columns for your CSV files, all right? So if I open up the people basic, you can see that in the default template, you have the first name, last name, full name, the title, organization, their LinkedIn headline, their summary, what their badge is on their profile, MX records, their business email. You have their seniority. You basically have their entire LinkedIn profile information in the default export template. On a company level, then you have the company name, headcount, the size, industry tags, even the SEO description, website, domain URL. Basically, once again, everything on a company level that is extracted from LinkedIn. You can basically get that, their annual revenue, funding even. Then you can also export the prospect's experience. So you can get the first entry. You can also choose to add the second or the bottom entry as well on their LinkedIn profile. So you can see this specific person has a title as a senior customer engineer, lead integration builder. You can see the summary. You can see the company from that experience. You can also export their education, awards, courses, languages that they speak. So you can see this specific prospect can speak Japanese. So once again, you have a lot of option, a lot of room to customize literally everything within AI Ark, even the columns that you're getting. First of all, you have 256 columns to choose from. So if you wanted to, you could get a lot of data about these prospects. And if you're running outbound campaigns and you've used tools like Clay before as well, this is really valuable information that you can use to personalize your outreach, to qualify your prospects as well based on certain information that is on their LinkedIn profile. So all really useful information. But for this example, I'm just going to stick to the default export template. But if you wanted to customize it, you could just click on create here. And then I'm just going to click on export now, right? So we're exporting the 100 records. All right, so going back into the left column now, all you need to do is you need to go into your exports, all right? And you can see here that this lead list has already been processed, all right? So you can see fashion, and you can see obviously it was only 100 records, so it only takes a second. And then all you need to do is click on download, all right? So once you click on download, then you basically have your CSV file and it's already verified. If you have any old email addresses that you exported in the past, then those are also going to be re-verified, and you basically have a ready CSV file with all the columns that you want as well. And then from here, you can also manage your profile. You can see your plans and your pricing. You can also see all the lists that you've built. So once again, if you built any lists that you want to exclude for future lead lists, and you can see those there and you can manage them here, all your saved searches. And then mainly, once you build a lead list, you're just going to be coming into your exports. It's very, very fast when it comes to exporting. And then you just basically download the lead list. And when you want to build a new lead list, once again, you can come into the home page. And then that's basically it. So there you have it. You now know exactly how to use AI Ark to build verified lead lists for your cold email campaigns. And I guarantee if you start using AI Ark for your campaigns, you will see significantly better results. Because first of all, you have 526 million contacts to choose from, which means that every single lead list you build within AI Ark is likely going to give you more contacts than any other database. And then second, when you actually export that data, not only can you verify it within AI Ark rather than having to pay for a third-party verification tool, but you can also customize your export template, which means that when you're personalizing your cold emails or when you're qualifying your prospects, you have a lot of valuable information from their LinkedIn profile to make sure that you're emailing the right person and then also saying the right thing that is relevant to those people. So for these reasons, at least we've made the switch to AI Ark. And if you want to make the switch too, then you can also use the discount code SparkLead10 to get a 10% discount. And I've also linked that discount code in the description. Now, if you're a B2B business and you don't want to be doing all the things that I walked you through in this video, and you just want a team to come into your business and just basically set up an entire cold email system for you that delivers qualified sales appointments, then just click on the first link in the description to book a call with me. We'll see if we're a good fit to work together. But I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.